When a teacher crosses the line and humiliates a black student in front of the entire class, the truth that comes out at the parent-teacher meeting will leave you stunned. Subscribe now to uncover stories that challenge injustice and inspire change. Jada Morris, a 13-year-old black girl with a radiant smile and a sharp mind, sat at her desk, flipping through her cue cards. Her history project on the Harlem Renaissance was more than an assignment. It was a tribute to her heritage, a chance to celebrate the voices that had paved the way for her own dreams of becoming a doctor. The classroom buzzed with noise as Mrs. Eleanor Hargrove, a middle-aged woman known for her strict demeanor, called for silence. "Jada, it's your turn." Jada stood, her heart racing but her resolve firm. As she began her presentation, her passion filled the room. She spoke of Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, and Duke Ellington, weaving their stories into a narrative of resilience and triumph. The class listened, some captivated, others disinterested, until Mrs. Hargrove interrupted. "That's enough, Jada," she said, her tone sharp. "Your enthusiasm is admirable, but let's be realistic. Did you write this yourself?" A wave of whispers rippled through the room. Jada froze, the words catching her off guard. "Yes, ma'am. I researched and wrote everything myself." Mrs. Hargrove raised an eyebrow, her voice dripping with condescension. "It's just unexpected, considering your background. Ambition is one thing, but we must also be honest about our capabilities." The words landed like a slap. Jada felt the weight of every eye in the room on her. Her chest tightened, and her cheeks burned with humiliation. She finished her presentation quickly, her voice trembling, and returned to her seat. That evening, Jada sat at the dinner table, poking at her food. Her parents, Renee and Marcus, exchanged concerned glances. "Baby, what's wrong?" Renee asked gently. Jada hesitated, then blurted out the story, her voice breaking as she recounted Mrs. Hargrove's remarks. Renee's eyes blazed with anger. She said, "What? That's racist, plain and simple." Marcus clenched his fists. "No teacher has the right to talk to you that way. This isn't just ignorance, it's prejudice." Jada sniffled. "I just wanted to show I could do it. I wanted them to see that I'm just as smart as anyone else." Renee took Jada's hand. "You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You belong in that classroom as much as anyone else. And we're going to make sure this gets addressed." The next morning, Renee called the school and demanded a meeting. Meanwhile, word of the incident spread. Some classmates reached out to Jada with kind words, while others avoided the topic entirely, unsure of what to say. The meeting room was tense. Jada sat between her parents, her mother's fiery determination and her father's quiet strength a comforting presence. Across the table, Mrs. Hargrove sat stiffly, her expression neutral, while Principal Bennett shifted uncomfortably. "I'd like to begin by addressing the misunderstanding," Mrs. Hargrove started, her voice clipped. "My comments were taken out of context." Renee leaned forward, her voice cold and controlled. "Context doesn't matter when you demean a child in front of her peers. You didn't question her work because of its quality. You questioned it because she's black." Mrs. Hargrove stiffened. "That's a serious accusation. I treat all my students equally. Do you?" Marcus asked, his tone calm but pointed. "Because Jada isn't the first student of color to feel singled out in your class." Jada gathered her courage. "You don't see me the way you see the others. You assume I'm not capable before I even start. It's not just me. I've seen you treat other kids the same way." Principal Bennett cleared his throat. "This is a serious issue. We need to investigate thoroughly to ensure fairness for everyone involved." Renee's voice sharpened. "Investigate all you want, but we're not letting this slide. My daughter deserves better, and so do the other students in this school." The school placed Mrs. Hargrove on administrative leave while an investigation began. Over the following weeks, students and staff came forward, revealing a troubling pattern of microaggressions and discriminatory behavior. Jada's classmates rallied around her, inspired by her courage. Together, they formed a diversity council, determined to bring lasting change to the school. At home, Mrs. Hargrove sat alone, replaying the meeting in her mind. The accusations had cut deep, forcing her to confront biases she had long ignored. For the first time, she realized the harm her words had caused, not just to Jada, but to countless students over the years. Months later, Jada stood on stage at a school assembly. Her voice was steady, her words powerful. Racism isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's quiet. It's in the assumptions people make, in the things they don't say. But we don't have to accept it. We can call it out and demand better. The audience erupted into applause, the energy in the room electric. Renee and Marcus watched from the crowd, pride shining in their eyes. After the assembly, Jada walked off stage, her head held high. She had faced injustice and turned it into a movement, proving that one voice could make a difference. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on how this was handled? Do you think the school's response was enough, or could more have been done? Share your opinions in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss powerful stories like this one. Together, we can keep the conversation going and drive real change. See you in the next video. Subscribe to our channel for soul-stirring stories.